The history of Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association dates back to 1950, when a group of manufacturers meeting with their wholesalers in Chicago realized they shared common goals, interests, and many of the same challenges. While the original Allied Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association members were by no means large companies, they all specialized in manufacturing products for the fast-growing farm equipment market. They saw a need for developing an organization that could help improve their individual companies while at the same time representing the group's interests. As a result, 46 specialized or short-line farm equipment manufacturing companies came together and joined what we now know as the Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association.
A lot of those founding fathers were not only farm equipment salesmen that were good at kicking the tires, but they were excellent businessmen. So they were able to set some foundations, good business principles in the guidelines for board members and some of the leadership, so that we made sure that the leaders were ones that would be able to carry through with those principles as well. But also, they were very smart in keeping the board to a point where it could be very diverse.
The entrepreneurs that are part of the association, there's been a lot of innovations that have come to the marketplace because of FEMA memberships. Whether it's in seeding, planting technology, forage technology, precision technology, you name it, usually been a FEMA member involved in bringing that innovation to the industry.
You'd have to say that if it were not for short line manufacturers, a lot of things that the long line folks now manufacture and sell would have never been developed. So as you back out and look, the cost of raising stuff would be higher if there were no short line manufacturers, because the short line guys, as you know, manufacture or develop and manufacture unique equipment that may have a smaller market share or market niche than the long line manufacturers. We can't afford to spend the time and effort on something that may be very, very small, whereas a short liner can do it very well. And then on the other hand, it may be something that once it's developed, a major will take up and make a part of their product line. So the short line folks have essentially made the business more efficient and more effective in terms of getting food and fiber out to all the folks.
I started going to FEMA meetings in the 70s, mid-70s, late 70s, because this is the organization where all small agriculture manufacturers should go. We would go there and we probably did business with a dozen distributors, and you'd be able to see them kind of all at once at the same time. And then as we kind of moved on and moved away from distributors into manufacturers, reps, and direct folks, it was not so much going to see the marketing end of it, it was just to see suppliers, visit with the people who sold you stuff, and talk to your peers, so to speak.
The group that, as we all know with FEMA, is a very tight group. I mean, there's new people coming in, there's people that have been there forever, there's all of in between. And just really getting to know, there's people in much larger organizations that they're already past something that we're trying to get through now, or things of that nature. And then you kind of attach yourself to that person because you see how they carry themselves, you see how they conduct themselves. So that guy knows what he's talking about, or that gal knows what she's talking about. And you go and you engage in conversation and talk through those things. And it's a huge benefit because you grow as a person, you grow as a leader, you grow as a manager, you grow in your knowledge, and you have to look and adapt and change, quite frequently. I mean, what's worked in the past could still work, or it may be that you have to totally change what you're doing. And the resource that's there in FEMA is that.
There's always new members that come onto the FEMA organization, and it's great to find them in a social hour and visit with them and learn about the business that they have. But the companies who bring in a whole variety of people to the FEMA meetings, we find that very informative. So you can sit down with the owner, maybe the sales manager, the engineer, the purchasing people as a group, and just try to understand a solution to a problem they might have.
FEMA really, it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And so there's a lot of different opportunities inside of FEMA. And one of those really is the networking with inside of the convention. So I do recall one particular convention, the hotel lobby bar is kind of the place to hang out and be, not only to meet people, but also maybe to talk shop. And so there was one convention where myself and a colleague met with another business that was looking to kind of diversify themselves. And this was just a super casual meeting in the lobby bar.
Initially, when I started with the company, we were only supplying short line OEMs. So it was hub and spindle assemblies. We do all the engineering in-house. We would work with those companies directly. And then we kind of hit a downturn and we were like, you know what, we got to do something a little different here. We want to go to the aftermarket. We want to supply parts, but we don't want to do what everybody else is doing and just distribute.
So we're like, well, have you thought about this part or that part? And they were like, no, we really haven't. But it's not a bad idea, you know? So we kind of drew some things out on napkins and had some casual conversations over a few drinks. And
at first you were like, this is crazy. You know, we're just drawing this up. I mean, everybody thinks it's not going to go anywhere, but it did. I mean, it blew into something huge.
Before you know it, this business decided to run with that idea and started selling parts on the aftermarket. So that was a very interesting conversation that we had, just very casual, didn't know those guys at all. And now they're selling into the aftermarket game some parts that we thought of specifically at a FEMA convention. So it's not just about friendships and partnerships. It's also about doing business and driving revenue as well. And it's a great example of how that worked.
We've been in FEMA 45 plus years. We started out with 10 employees, and today we have 750. And I give a lot of that credit to FEMA, where I met the right people, and a lot of those people are more than willing to help you as you grow, and I enjoy helping others at this stage of life.
What made me get involved in FEMA was Dad's involvement in FEMA and how it helped him grow the company. He gives FEMA a lot of credit for other members that would help him when he was just a 10-man shop. So and I wanted to keep the tradition going. It's like a big family. I mean, in the real world, we're all competitors, but when we're here to help and not talk about our personal business, but just here to help each other out.
To me, one of the other big things that helped me was FEMA. I was fortunate enough that I was asked to I had belonged to FEMA, but I was asked to become on the board, a board member of FEMA. When I first got there, one of the older FEMA members, Ed Elston, used to be with the Snowco company. Ed told us, he said, these people will become like a second family. And that certainly has been true. Mm-hmm. And all the people on the FEMA board and the directors, and the past presidents and so on, very helpful. We very strictly do not talk about anything that would be non-competitive or uncompetitive, I should say. But like when I went to expand the metal fabrication department and buy new production equipment, I would go to the different FEMA members and ask them what did they recommend. And they gave me recommendations. They also gave me some heads up on a couple brands that they had trouble with. And so anyway, when I bought the new equipment, I had good success. I didn't have any problems because it all had been recommended by people that I trusted and knew. And FEMA, we have the spring management sessions. They've had good speakers come in, and you learn from them, and definitely learn from the other peers within the FEMA group. And it's been a very positive influence and a great big help.
Yeah, the greatest resource of FEMA is its members. And if you get involved and you talk with them, you can learn a lot of do's and don'ts, and it saves you a lot of time and trouble.
People with similar interests, similar industries, similar struggles. And so when you have the same struggles, you bond pretty tight. And you look forward to seeing each other at least twice a year, sometimes more. and it becomes another family. But as soon as you get there, you realize when you step away from your day-to-day work, the important things come out. I always talk about getting to that higher elevation, and that's what FEMA does for you.
It is evident that this group is going to be around because we are seeing that second, third, sometimes fourth generation of family members that are taking leadership positions on our board of directors. But from my standpoint, it's the leadership that I'm thrilled to see. People in their 30s stepping up and saying, yeah, I want to take a leadership position in the association.
It helps you develop as a professional because you work around people, some younger, but most older. And it's just the way it is when you get into the exec team and the board and all that. And those guys are seasoned people. They've got good business acumen. They've got a good solid head on their shoulders. They've seen a lot. They don't like offer advice, but the way they carry themselves, the way they react in situations, if you're paying attention, will make you a much better business professional by surrounding yourself with people like that.
I think that getting involved is very important. I will say the first 3-4 years or so that I was involved with the company and we were a FEMA member, we made the relationships and whatnot, and it was still very beneficial. But once I started to get involved and met up with the group of guys and girls that I'm with now on the board, and then in turn got to meet more with the regular members, it just kind of took off. I mean, now it's like a brotherhood. Like you meet with those people and every single time you go down there, you're going to catch up, and it's not just all about work. It's about family and everything. You could talk with those guys about everything.
When I was asked to be on the board, I didn't know what to expect. I was only been FEMA for less than 10 years, so I was kind of a novice at that. But the good part with the summer board meeting, we brought our families. So I'll never ever forget the fact my first couple of years, my kids were, I think, 3, 5, and 7. And now Phil, Don Landau's son, and Ben and Dave are good friends. They talk to each other multiple times. They have developed a relationship over the last 30 years. Now they're business men, not children anymore, businessmen, and they relate to each other. I can use some names that Phil Landau, Don's kids, and Tim Baringa, Tom Baringa's kid, and Jerry Danuser's Janae and Glenn. It's a wonderful relationship. It really is.
It's all what I call the power of association, being involved in the industry and being able to share again as peer groups with others, as to finding preferred suppliers, finding again legacy suppliers that are understand the industry and that can support us. FEMA, like a lot of other industry associations, helps to provide advocacy, helps to provide other supports to, again, multi-generational family businesses that would otherwise be difficult to do on your own, whether it's government support, industry collaboration, that type of thing.
You got to get involved. I think if you volunteer your time and you spend time getting to know the guys, the benefits and the rewards, they're endless.
My first involvement with the association started in 2004, back when I was employed with Kinsey Manufacturing. And that exposure is what got me interested in FEMA. I was very intrigued by the members that attended the association. And I thought, what a very interesting group of individuals. I was very impressed with a lot of the work that fellow leaders before me had done in there. People like Charlie Glass, people like Vince Tomlanovic and so on, because a lot of the work that they had done way back in the day has been very critical for memberships today. Or members today, I should say. And some of that work that they did was like standardizing dealer agreements, standardizing rep agreements, standardizing distributor agreements. The work that they did on establishing an online portal for state buyback laws, dealer protection laws, to have that online library available at our fingertips for the regular members. That work that they'd done back then, they were able to put us on an equal foothold as the majors have.
It's the classic manufacturing in America. All that still exists, and a lot of it is in agricultural equipment. And I think most people don't think much beyond tractors. Basically, they don't know that there are all these other types of specialized equipment that serve different purposes regionally and otherwise. There's quite an industry that is unknown to most people.
I think the innovation from short line manufacturers is quicker. It's more responsive. I think they are able to change course, adapt, and try new things at a much smaller scale than a mainline manufacturer, and that normally means they're first to market with a lot of that technology. Without a short line industry, it would greatly impact the farmers that we all do business with, because as a mainline manufacturer, they have to have scale in products they sell in order to pay for the manufacturing and the design costs. So there would be a lot of products that would never come to the marketplace if we depended on the mainline manufacturers to innovate and come forward with them. So there's a lot of niche markets out there. We have some areas where we've got the high dollar vegetable crops, and there's a lot of things in that segment that if it weren't for the short line manufacturers, we wouldn't be able to provide a solution to our growers, and they would have to try to go outside the country or try to find another place to get that technology.
We're all in this together. We're all in similar situations, and whether it's suppliers or our customers or even our competitors, you can connect with all those people in one setting. And to me, that's rewarding to be able to sit down and have those conversations.
We all have the same customer base. When you break it down to, it is farmers or ranchers. That's it. However, we have people from every part of the industry that touches that. We have people that deal with livestock equipment. We have people that deal with fertilization. We have large grain. We have small weekenders. We've got every bit of it. And the entire organization made up with those diverse groups, everybody has an equal voice to it. So it's not like an organization that only has tractor dealer or tractor manufacturers and the biggest paycheck is who has the loudest voice. That's not how we operate. It's all whether you are working with the large producer that's got the 20,000 acres that he's putting in, or you've got the homesteader who has 5 acres and is just trying to scratch out. Whatever industry or whichever part of that industry you're touching, you have the same voice when it comes to FEMA. And I think that brings value.
Sometimes in agriculture, we get a little doom and gloom, and it's raining too much, or it's drought, or it's this, or it's that, and we're I like to consider it more realistic than pessimistic. But those challenges, sometimes I think that we can get a little down in the challenges, when in reality, there's a lot of optimism, and there's a lot of moving forward, and there's a lot of innovation and still entrepreneurial spirit alive in our industry.
I think the key for me personally is I actually look forward to these. This is not just a work function for me. It's something that I look forward to going to and attending and seeing folks that I don't get to see every day. I do talk to quite a few people in between, but I enjoy the meetings. I think they're a good learning tool for anybody who actually will sit there and pay attention.
And I've always said some of the greatest reasons to join FEMA, in my opinion, are, we all have that same shared interests and that commonality, and that's very hard to find. So whether business is good or if business is bad, it does sort of feel good to talk to those that are going through the same things that you're going through. It's just like when parents get together with other parents that have teenagers. Tell me your experiences. How does this work? What do you do when this happens? What do you do when that happens? We're providing advice. We're providing advocacy for one another. And that's the most reliable source, in my opinion, that you could get.
Without FEMA involved in some of the regulatory matters and legislative matters, a lot of bad bills could be passed that would affect members like us that are small and have difficulty having a large voice. That's why we need a voice that represents our particular need, and FEMA helps us accomplish that.
Then you had the specific FEMA members that really, and there's hundreds of them, if not 1,000, that really relied on that networking and education of FEMA that they provide to help them in their business practices and just growing. Association-wise, there was a good need for both and some crossover. So that, first and foremost, I think that's why it's lasted as long as it has and continues.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of organizations make it to 75. And this one has. It's very proud of its heritage, and it should be. Started with a small group of ag equipment manufacturers who decided they needed to have a little more voice in things. And they started it, and it grew from there. And I think every company that's joined after that that's been successful has to contribute some of that back to FEMA. So I think it's very important, and we're all going to try hard to make it go another 75 years, I'm sure, if not more.
It's a salute to our manufacturers. For some reason we might think they have the easy job, but maybe they think the easy job's on our side when we sell it. But everybody has to put a little sweat into the effort, and they certainly have done it too. They've had their ups and downs, and we've seen a lot of them go the way of bye-bye. And some have sold their product to another manufacturer that has put a collection together. There's all kinds of stories there of the evolution of products and the evolution of the companies that produce those products. And they're all worthy of congratulations.
I'd like to congratulate FEMA on their 75th anniversary.
Congratulations on the 75 years, but keep it going and make it another 75 years, please do, because this farming is not getting any easier, but with those type of people that help supply what our needs are, makes farming fun.